You are listening to Lighthearted, the official podcast of the United States Lighthouse Society. My name is Jeremy D'Entremont. Welcome. Today is November 30th, 2025, and this is episode 331 of Lighthearted. My co-host today is Avery Shaughnessy Comfort, Executive Director of Lake Erie Lights of Pennsylvania. Hi, Avery.
Hey, Jeremy, and hello to our listeners.
Happy Thanksgiving weekend. Of course, I'm cheating a little bit. We're speaking before Thanksgiving, but people will be hearing this a little after Thanksgiving. I hope your Thanksgiving has been good.
I hope your Thanksgiving has been good. I'm cooking everything, so I'm sure everything turned out delicious.
I'm sure it did. Yeah. Well, good luck and congratulations on that.
Thank you.
That's great. I was looking at the calendar on your website, the Lake Erie Lights of Pennsylvania website, aka Presque Isle Lighthouse website, and I see you have a lot of events on there. It looks like there's something coming up called the Winter Discovery Day on February 1st. What's that all about?
Yeah, so that's an event that's hosted by one of our park partners, the Presque Isle Partnership, but we're a part of that special event. So it includes everything from carriage rides, ice fishing, cross-country skiing, and we usually have the shop open. And the lighthouse is, you're able to go around the museum. You can't climb the tower because the ice is a little too treacherous and it's a little too cold. But we have like free hot chocolate and a fun craft. I think last year we did make your own heart pillow. So we'll do something fun again this year. The demand was huge last year. We had to run out and actually buy more fabric because we had so many people at the lighthouse on a very, very bitter cold February day, but it was beautiful. We had a lot of fun.
So I was looking at your calendar, as I said, and you have a lot of cool events. I was looking at what happened, what was done this past year. You know, if I didn't live 10 hours away, I'd definitely come to some of them. And you were telling me you have something new coming up next year. Is that correct?
We do. We did a pilot program this past year where we actually did a Starry Night stargazing event with Erie Astronomy Club and with the Pennsylvania State University campus at Behrend, which is right here in Erie. And we shut off as many lights as we could, obviously not, the beacon itself, but we had some beautiful, dark, clear skies. And these guys and these gals were here just with their telescopes and pointing out things like I got to see Saturn through a telescope, which was really cool. You could see the rings and everything. So I think we'll bring that event back. It was very popular, a lot of fun.
Yeah, I bet. It's always great being at a lighthouse at night. So you're saying that's right, happens right at Presque Isle Lighthouse, is that right?
Yeah, it does. And it's usually, we'll probably do it in September or October when it starts to get a little bit darker. So we'll give, some time after the summer solstice or the fall equinox rather, to get going on it.
Yeah, I'm sure it'll be really popular. So let's move on. Today's subject is Ashtabula Lighthouse in Ohio, only about an hour, I think, from where you are in Erie. Is that about right?
Yeah, about an hour on the dot.
Okay. The lighthouse there is not open on a regular basis, but I imagine you've probably seen it.
Yes, I've seen it many times. I actually visit Ashtabula quite frequently. There's a favorite apple orchard of mine that I like to go visit, not far from there. And one of my favorite antique stores is also in Ashtabula.
Wow. So that's 3 good reasons to visit there.
Yes. So I've seen the lighthouse many times.
Yeah. Well, I only saw it fairly distantly from the park where we did the interview, which I'll say more about in a minute. But if you could help me, let's introduce our guest.
Sure, Jeremy. Ashtabula, Ohio is a community of about 18,000 people at the mouth of the Ashtabula River on Lake Erie. In the late 1800s, the city was a major port for the shipping of coal and iron ore. The first lighthouse in Ashtabula Harbor was a small wooden tower built in 1836.
The channel into the harbor was widened and a breakwater was constructed in 1905. A new lighthouse was built at the end of the breakwater, a square 2-story dwelling with a short tower on its roof. In 1915, the lighthouse was relocated to a new pierhead about 1,750 feet from its original location.
The lighthouse was staffed by Coast Guard keepers until it was automated in 1973. It had been the last staffed lighthouse on Lake Erie. A house that was built on the mainland in 1871 for the keepers and families is now the Ashtabula Maritime and Surface Transportation Museum, with more than 25,000 historic items on display. Attached to the rear of the museum is a full-size pilot house from a Great Lakes steamer with original equipment.
Under the guidelines of the National Historic Lighthouse Preservation Act, ownership of the lighthouse was transferred to the Ashtabula Lighthouse Restoration and Preservation Society in 2007. Our guest today, Joe Santayana, is the president of the Ashtabula Lighthouse Restoration and Preservation Society. I interviewed Joe outdoors at Lakeshore Park in Ashtabula. It was a nice, beautiful, sunny day. The lighthouse can be seen from the park. They're about a mile away. Pretty good view. You'll hear that there's some noise during the interview. You can hear gulls and geese at different times, and I think some people talking in the background. But I think everything can be heard okay. So let's listen to my conversation with Joe Santayana now. I am here in Lakeshore Park in beautiful Ashtabula, Ohio. Gorgeous day here at the end of September. Couldn't be nicer. And I am here with Joe Santayana, who is the president of the Ashtabula Lighthouse Restoration and Preservation Society. I think I got that right. Yeah. Hi, Joe. Thanks for doing this.
Exactly right.
Great. And by the way, again, we are outside here sitting at a picnic table at Lakeshore Park. And if you hear, if our listeners hear gulls or geese or there's a weird creaking sound from this pavilion room, and we're not quite sure what it is. It might be something that's supposed to scare the birds away. But anyway, if you hear strange sounds in the background, that's because we're outdoor at Lakeshore Park. So, Joe, I want to ask you about your organization and the work that you're doing and everything, but just let's touch on a little bit of history of the lighthouse first. And by the way, from where we're sitting, we can see the lighthouse, but it's at least a mile away from here, I think, from where we're sitting.
Yeah, it's about a mile offshore, adjacent to the breakwall that protects the port for when the large ships come in.
Yeah. So the first lighthouse was built here in 1836. What was happening here in Ashtabula at that time? Was there a lot of commerce, or why did they need
there was the starting of the shipping in this area. A lot of stuff was brought in through the Great Lakes, and before we had the breakwalls and things like that, the smaller boats would come in that they used at the time for shipping. But then, as it progressed, Ashtabula started becoming a major port. So there's been 4 or 5 lighthouses here. And they start putting the breakwall in, and they had to keep extending that because the ships got longer and longer, all the way up to we get 1,000-footers in here. Mm-hmm. And we also get ocean vessels to this particular dock company that we're next to right now that bring in rubber for tires, root tile, different things like that. Mm-hmm. And actual Ashtabula, between railroad and shipping, it was known. I can't remember what the tonnage was that came in, but a lot. It was called Port of Progress. Yeah. Since it's changed now over the years, we don't have anywhere near the shipping or the railroad, because a lot of the steel mills closed. A lot of the things that would come into the different ports,
sure,
you don't need it anymore.
Yeah. Well, for somebody like me from New England, at least Ashtabula is one of, a handful of communities along the south shore of Lake Erie that I've heard of before. Mm-hmm. So it's certainly well known. What's going on here these days? What's the main business and everything?
It's kind of a lot of retired people are moving to this area now because less hustle and bustle in the big city, Cleveland, Akron, Canton area.
Yeah.
And we don't have we used to have tons of industry here that has long closed, so we're getting more and more tourism. We have a lot of wineries, a lot of grape growing here, so we have 20 or 30 wineries just in this area, and that type of thing. So people come up along the lake that even live an hour to 2 hours south. We kind of take it for granted because we live along it, but we do a lot of tourism in the area.
Yeah. Well, I haven't seen a lot. It's my first time here, but what I've seen looks nice. And this is one of the nicest city parks I've seen in a long time. Very nice.
They've been doing improvements every year. They spent a lot of money on this particular pavilion. They had to build all new foundation and everything, and I think they spent like $1 million. New roof on it. I'm sure they'll do the inside repainting and stuff, but. Get a lot of people down here picnicking, and we have car shows on Sunday right in back of us here, and it's pretty popular. And got a long history here, all the way back to the turn of the century, So.
There was a park here since the turn of the century?
Yeah, and there used to be a hotel on the hill. There was an amusement park right over that way, and one here. There's old pictures on the internet that show this was the meeting place for Ashtabula, the ladies in the gowns and the big hats and Model Ts all the way up the hill and stuff. So it was quite popular.
Yeah. For any young people listening, turn of the century, we're talking 19th into the 20th century. That's right. It's easy to forget. We're well into the 21st. But anyway, back to the lighthouse. So the lighthouse that's here today was built in 1905, is that correct?
Yeah, right around 1905, yeah.
Mm-hmm. But it was moved early in its history.
Yeah, they moved it out another, I think it was either 1,000 or 1,200 foot, and they put an addition on it. And there's some pictures out there, we have copies of them, where they loaded it on a barge and they moved it out to the current position. And at the time, there was no break wall adjacent to it. It just sat out on a caisson. And then the break wall was continued up to it and then past it over the years, So it's got a lot of history.
Yeah. So when it was active, did families live there with the keepers, or was it just males only?
It was just keepers. There was a building on shore, a house on shore, where a keeper's family lived when mainly before the lighthouse was moved, when it was smaller. But the keeper stayed at the lighthouse, and they had a shift, probably 2 or 3 days on, 2 or 3 days off, and the Coast Guard. After the Coast Guard had taken over the lighthouses and everything, so that we never really had keepers' families living out at this lighthouse.
Yeah. So the house on shore where the families lived, that's a museum now, right?
Right. Yeah. That used to be the original. That was a 2-family dwelling where the different keepers, families lived. There's some historic pictures out on the internet that show that too. Also.
Yeah. Remind me of the name of the museum.
Ashtabula Maritime and Transportation Museum now.
Yeah.
So they cover more than just water. They're covering railroad and different things like that.
Yeah. Might get back to that in a minute. But in the history of the lighthouse here, is there anything that you think of that kind of stands out for you as far as any interesting keepers or things that happened to do with living there?
Since we formed, we've had 5 or 6 keepers that we've contacted and have been up here. And we've brought them back out to Lighthouse, and they told their tales as young Coast Guardsmen. And there was one in particular, Neil Barton. He was quite a character at the time as a young Coast Guardsman, and he would narrate our tours when we brought tours out, and that was really good because he would tell the stories of the young, light keepers and the different things they went through and stuff. So he was quite entertaining and a great personality to tell the story of the Ashtabula Lighthouse.
Oh, it's great when you find guys like that.
But since time, we've lost quite a few of the keepers that we made contact with, and there's still 1 or 2 that we know of, from the 50s era.
Yeah. Do they consider this a good place to be stationed?
Most of them did. There was a couple that, you got to remember, they're 18 or 19 years old. They're stuck on a lighthouse that's probably not too exciting unless they're off time. But for the most part, a lot of them liked their service. They didn't want to be on a Coast Guard boat so much, but they took interest in pride in their job,
Sure. Did ice have much an effect on?
Ice?
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. Our winters aren't as harsh as they used to be, but this lake used to freeze up, and my grandfather told me they would stand on the shore. The Timberwolves would come over from Canada.
Oh, wow.
And they would, have to shoot them to get them out of here.
We're not talking a basketball team. We're talking actual wolves.
Actual Timberwolves. There's a couple pictures on the internet where the keepers, they were, when the shipping season closed late in the fall, they were taken out of the lighthouse naturally. But there was one time where it was late in the year and the ships were still running, so they had the keepers in, and the lighthouse got encased in ice, and they couldn't get out. and they had to have people go out there with axes to cut an opening to get the keepers out of the lighthouse. But they usually took them out late in the fall. But over the decades, they've run the shipping later and later and later, where there's more chance of ice storms, things like that.
Sure. So there was nobody there from late fall to early spring. Is that about right?
Probably November, December till ice off the lake, to get out there a little early to get the facility ready for the season. But it was kind of dormant there in the wintertime.
Sure. So I understand it was the last light on Lake Erie to be automated, 1973. Is that correct?
Yeah, it was the last manned lighthouse on the lakes.
Yeah, and then it was kind of abandoned for some years, right?
Yeah, it became a secondary aid to navigation with that little pier flashing light on the opening of the breakwall. So it was secondary aid. The light was still operational all those years, but they didn't have anybody manned at the lighthouse, and the Coast Guard would go out periodically and check on the light, and it was battery-powered solar backup, and they would change the batteries and do maintenance on the lighthouse every so many years. They painted it and just did general repairs.
It's still an active light, right?
Oh yeah, it's still active aid to navigation, but it's a secondary aid.
Yeah, and the Coast Guard ANACE navigation team goes out there once in a while.
Very, very seldom. With the new LED lights, they don't have as much maintenance, and that's all they have. There's no foghorn. The foghorns were taken out decades ago, and but the Coast Guard has pulled out of Ashtabula. We had a Coast Guard station here for all those decades, and now they moved to Geneva. The same thing with the ODNR. They've pulled out of Ashtabula due to government cutbacks.
Sure. Same thing in Lorraine. I was there a couple of days ago. Their Coast Guard station closed.
Yeah, unfortunately, and not as much breakwall repair is done since the shipping is much lower than it used to be.
Yeah.
They used to keep up on the breakwall repair, and they were in a lot better condition even to walk out on. They would straighten all the rocks out, but not anymore. They come down once or twice every few years and do some repairs.
Is that the Army Corps of Engineers that owns the breakwalls?
Right, yeah, and they do surveys out here, check the water depth. They send their boats out, and I think it was last summer they had a dredge out there doing a certain amount of dredging on the rivers, the mouth of the river there.
Yeah. So skipping ahead, your organization was started in the early 2000s, is that right?
2001. Yeah, 2001.
Yeah. And were you involved right from the start?
Yeah, Dennis Hale, he was the curator of the Marine Museum at the time, and he was the last survival of the Morel when it sank. Well, he put an article in the paper that somebody should do something with the lighthouse. Well, my family liked lighthouses, and we would go around to the different states and see them. So I contacted him, and we had a meeting at the Marine Museum. We decided to start an organization and see what we could do to either lease the lighthouse or whatever. So that was a very long process. So we had one of the local state representatives help us, because the lighthouse sits on a piece of land that is owned by the state of Ohio. And they weren't leasing out have any lease. So he straightened that out. We got a lease on the bottomlands, and that kind of opened the door for us contacting the GSA, and the lighthouse was finally put on the list of disposable properties. So, and that helped other lighthouses on the Great Lakes too, when they changed that where you could lease the bottomlands too.
So that's through the National Historic Lighthouse Preservation Act. You got ownership. I think it was 2007 officially it was turned over. So.
Yeah, it was 2007.
And I just want to mention that Joe's wife Debbie is here as well, kind of helping with some of the dates and things here. So thanks, Debbie. Thanks for being here. So when your organization was formed in the early 2000s, what was the condition of the lighthouse at that time?
Well, it had been closed up since the early 70s, and it was a lot of things were in pretty bad shape. The main deck was leaking through, or water was coming in, different parts on the roof, things like that. They would go out and do necessary maintenance for a closed building. So there wasn't a whole lot done, and when we got it and actually were able to go up and open it up and assess what needed done, that was kind of a thrill for us to get to that point,
Yeah. Well, I'll get back to that in a minute, but when it was automated, the Fresnel lens was removed. Is that right?
Yeah, because they disconnected electricity to the lighthouse. The marine cable that goes out there, that was all taken out. So there was nobody to maintain that, to go back and forth. So they put an automated light in on a timer, and it was battery operated also with a solar panel to charge the battery. And that was kind of the end of doing anything. At one time when we first got it, you could see upstairs they built a room, and I think Coast Guard had a generator in there, just big enough so that when they went out to do any repairs, they had a form of electricity.
Yeah.
But other than that, it hadn't been touched for decades. So.
Yeah. And the Fresnel lens was a fourth order? Is that?
Fourth order.
And that's at the museum now?
It's on loan to the Marine Museum by the United States Coast Guard or General Services Administration. I don't know how that works as far as
Probably still officially belongs to the Coast Guard. That's
and as well it should. There's too many from other countries that were just sold to people. And,
right. Sometimes you can buy a Fresnel lens on eBay. You got to pay a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah, they show up from Iraq and various places. Yeah. So again, you said you've been involved since the organization was started, right? You personally. I think you've been president from the start.
No, Dennis Hale was president for a while, then I was, and actually I'm still president because nobody wants the job.
Yeah.
There's a lot more responsibility for the board members than just, having the position of being on the board.
Sure. Yeah.
And I'm sure it's like that with all the other organizations too that do a lot of work. The board members, they probably have more of their own money invested with speaking with people, going back and forth and everything like that. But it's just, if you love lighthouses and you want to try to preserve a historic building, that's just a sacrifice you made.
It's a labor of love.
Pardon?
A labor of love.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah. So can you say a little bit more about what kind of restoration projects have been done? Maybe not everything, but some of the major stuff.
Major stuff. All the windows were in poor repair. So all the windows were replaced with period-style windows. Second floor was replaced. The main deck was replaced, all the cement. Partial places on the roof, things like that. We had it painted about 7 or 8 years ago. It needs touched up again because the weather takes its toll. But there was a lot of other things done. All the electric that was in there, we had taken out and replaced with period-style electric and lighting to keep it within that 1950s. I think the GSA called period of significance. So that's what's been done. And we have 2 generators out there, one to run the lighthouse. Then we have a large one in the basement to run power equipment when we have to do something.
So it's all volunteer, your organization.
Yes.
Yeah, and you're probably always in search of new volunteers. I imagine you're probably hoping for maybe younger volunteers, not?
Well, that's the big thing now. I've been at this, we have been at this over 20 years.
Yeah. I
was a lot younger then.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
To go bouncing around the waves on a day when there were 6 and 8 foot waves out there, I'm getting a little too old for that. And we're hoping to get some younger volunteers and mentor them. The hard work has been done, but you still have a certain amount of maintenance that needs done every year, and we'd like to be able to have more tours go out.
Sure.
And we did have a dock made for it that we brought out for years, but it just got to be too cumbersome because the dock was 21,000 pounds and you had to pull it in every fall.
Yeah.
So we just have a gangway there that we can pull up to. And we have a fish fry every year right here at Lecture Park. And some of the years we had tours on the same day, and people got the big kick out of actually going in the lighthouse, not just a ride around the lighthouse.
Right, yeah.
And they didn't, from shore, it just looks like a building out there. When you get out there, you're talking about a 3-story house on the water. And so they got the people that went out, they got a big kick at actually being able to go into a lighthouse.
Yeah.
And that's one of the reasons why we wanted to get ownership of the lighthouse, because too many lighthouses around the United States have been sold to individuals, and they have these cute little videos on the internet of how nice it is, but a lot of them you can't get anywhere near.
Right.
And, it's just a part of history that you're cutting out from people when you get one, close it up, and then, that's it. So.
I agree, although I do have some friends who are private owners who've done a fantastic job, and actually, in some cases, open them up like as B&Bs and things like that. Mm-hmm. So at least they're being preserved, but there's also a lot of cases, where they become very private. What would you say, what would you say is the biggest challenge to keeping a place like this preserved?
The lake takes its toll on these offshore lighthouses. I mean, they get pummeled. I mean, we have pictures, saved at one of the members was a great photographer. He has passed, and him and I were out there, and there was 74-mile-an-hour wind blew up on the lake. So when the waves hit that, some of them go over the top of the lantern room.
Wow.
So it really gets pounded by the lake, especially in the fall, when the lake is not really frozen yet, but the air is cooler. The mist gets on there and builds up layers of ice all the way up on the lake side of it, all the way up to the roof. So it takes its toll on the paint.
Yeah.
And we've had Sherwin-Williams out there. They advised us on what paint to use and primers and all that type of stuff. So just the weather that does a lot of damage, that you had to constantly maintain it,
Sure, yeah. Those of us on the New England coast, people might think, oh, it's more harsh on the ocean coast, and it's just different. But I've seen enough of the Great Lakes to know how crazy, how wild
Well, the ocean doesn't really freeze up, so
right.
They deal with a different a different type of weather situation.
Exactly, yeah. Yeah, we don't get that effect of the ice really caking up on the structures on the ocean. It's amazing. It's like flat, calm here today. It's so beautiful.
Yeah, the lake is really nice. It'd be a good day to be out there fishing.
Yeah. Do you do a lot of fishing here?
I used to fish all the time. I haven't fished in years. And I even bought a fishing boat for myself 2 years ago. Hasn't been in the water. It just other things you're responsible for, and you can't seem to find the time.
Sure. So. What kind of fish you catching?
Lake Erie perch is probably one of the best tasting fishes anywhere, and then we have walleye. Mm-hmm. And then we have steelhead trout that run a spring and a fall. Those are stocked. I mean, we have bluegill, we have smallmouth bass, those types of fish, sunfish, certain amount of crappie and stuff. But the main fish, the walleye have kind of taken over the lake. Mm-hmm. At commercial fishing, we don't have so much in the United States, but Canada commercial fishes a lot, and they put the trap nets. Mm-hmm. They'll string 3 miles of trap net all connected together, so a whole school of perch can't get through.
Yeah.
So we have a lot less perch than we used to have to fish for. Very good eating fish.
Yeah.
Because even locally, perch and walleye are $27 or $28 a pound.
Wow. What do you use for your fish fry here when you have that?
We use Hillmac Seafood place here in the harbor that's been here for, I think, since time began. But usually a fresh pollock. I imagine they get it from Washington, Oregon.
Okay, so not a Lake Erie fish. But
no, I mean, as people will ask, well, do you serve perch at your fish fry? I said, no, it's only
spend $1 million.
We couldn't afford to, do that. But you make do with what's available.
Pollock's good for fish fries. It's good fried fish. Yeah, absolutely. So I have 2 final questions for you for bonus points, okay?
Do what?
These are for bonus points, my last 2 questions.
Okay, sure.
Okay, here we go. So the first one is, why does this lighthouse need to be preserved?
Well, this is an area that, like I said, was once a big industrial railroad shipping area, and when all this stuff moved out, like our main street in Ashtabula, most of the stores closed and the buildings weren't kept up. So you get that deterioration. You start losing your history. If you see any of the towns that preserved their main streets, their historic buildings and stuff like that. People travel all over to go see old buildings.
Yeah.
And we ourselves travel out of this area to see that kind of stuff too. It's kind of, the lighthouse is kind of a marking post for what the area once was. I mean, when we first started this, we'd go out to the lighthouse, there'd be 3 or 4 boats unloading at the docks, there'd be 4 or 5 anchored offshore, waiting to come in. We sold a lot of coal went out here too, but Canada no longer buys coal from us. And so, just to preserve a historic building, otherwise I think you lose your identity over a period of time of who you were and how you got to where you were and stuff. And we just love lighthouses. It's hard to explain that to somebody who's never read about them and the history of them, that type of stuff.
Well, you don't have to sell me on it. But I agree with everything you just said. So final question for bonus points, okay? What has been your favorite thing about your involvement with the lighthouse here?
You seem to meet other people with the same interests. I think it was last summer we had somebody come down from Kittery, Maine, and we took them on a private tour.
That wouldn't have been Sharon and Bob Mills, would it have been, do you think?
Pardon?
Could it possibly have been Sharon and Bob Mills, do you know?
I think it was.
Okay.
Yeah, they contacted us, and and we brought them out, and we've had other people like that were just die-hard lighthouse enthusiasts, and like you and I, we read the books on all the different things. So there's just something about it draws it to you,
Yeah.
And I just like watching people when you take them out on a tour. They're actually in a lighthouse, and especially when the keepers used to give the presentation, they didn't realize what is all involved in getting people safely back to shore.
Yeah.
And so it's been interesting,
Yeah. All you need to do is get out to a place like that and see it, like you said, inside and out, and then you realize how important it is, I think. And I mentioned Sharon and Bob Mills, wondering if they're the ones who gave a tour to. Debbie said, "Do you think so?"
I'm pretty sure.
I'll bet it would be, and I know them well. And shout out to Sharon who listens to the podcast as well. They've been to many lighthouses, but it's always for somebody like me, it's always a thrill to see a new lighthouse and to meet new people who are taking care of lighthouses. So it's really great to be here today and to talk with you. So Joe Santayana of the Ashtabula Lighthouse Restoration and Preservation Society, thank you so much for meeting me here today and talking with me.
Well, thanks. Yeah, I enjoyed it.
The lighthouse can be seen pretty well from the Ashtabula Maritime and Surface Transportation Museum. The museum is open May to October. You can find out more at ashtabulamaritime.org. You can read more about the Ashtabula Lighthouse Restoration and Preservation Society at ashtabulalighthouse.com.
My visit to Ashtabula was another nice stop on my Lake Erie trip in September. Of course, stopped off in Erie, Pennsylvania, and you showed me around your lighthouses there. It was all good. There's still one more interview from that trip we haven't used yet on the podcast. I did one at Fairport Harbor Lighthouse. That'll be heard in 2 weeks. Ashtabula, to me, is another example of a hardworking community organization that has preserved an important piece of their local history. And my hat is off to Joe Santayana and all the volunteers of that organization. Absolutely. And I know I'm excited to hear about the Fairport Harbor Lighthouse, because isn't that the lighthouse with the mummified cat? Spoiler alert. Spoiler alert. Yeah, it is. But I'll save that for the future episode. So we are well into the holiday season, obviously. And I was looking for Christmas stories about lighthouses that we could talk about. And I found a page on the website of Trinity House, the UK Lighthouse Authority, that I found really interesting. It's an essay by a keeper at Pendeen Lighthouse in Cornwall, England, in 1987. I'd like to read some of it if you could help me out. Can you help me read it, Avery? Sure thing, Jeremy. Quote, "Only when the keeper has finished all his routine duties is he free to spend time on his hobby or even just reading. Nowadays, every lighthouse has radio and color television, but keepers still will often spend time together playing games like chess,
cards, or dominoes. Christmas time is the time when they really get together. A couple of days before Christmas, they put up a few streamers and decorations in the sitting room and display all the cards they have received, and from the cupboard under the stairs, they retrieve the old plastic Christmas tree that they have had for years. A few baubles and bits of tinsel, and the room takes quite a festive air.
All at once it is Christmas. At breakfast, the keepers greet each other and exchange little gifts, and as soon as breakfast is over, start to unwrap the presents from their families. There are oohs and ahs and blow-me-downs intermingled with the laughter as the brightly colored wrapping paper covers the floor. Over the extra cup of coffee, they sit silent, and their eyes glaze a little as they perhaps picture their own children opening presents under the Christmas tree at home. The other two leave the kitchen and take the opportunity to telephone home their Merry Christmases to their respective families.
Christmas dinner is superb. The bird is done to a turn, the stuffing mouth-watering. The taters are brown and crisp, and the pudding with brandy sauce. They really enjoy it and pretend not to notice the pile of pans and dishes in the sink waiting to be washed up. Soon, the reality of their position is brought home to the keepers again as the approaching dusk tells them it is time to light up. The keeper on duty will go down to the engine room near the base of the tower and starts up one of the powerful diesel engines that powers a large electric generator. The blinding light is magnified by the lenses in the optic, and rhythmic, monotonous spokes of light are revolving out over the sea. All night, the 5 million candle power beams will signal to passing ships the location of the lighthouse and signpost a safe passage for them, unquote.
I love that essay, and that's maybe half of what we just read. If people want to read the whole thing, go to trinityhouse.co.uk, trinityhouse.co.uk, and search for Christmas, and then select the Lighthouse Keepers Christmas. There's a lot of good stuff on that website besides that as well. There's been a lot of mixed feelings about the automation and destaffing of lighthouses, I think, everywhere. But one good thing is that there's no longer a need for keepers to spend the holidays at isolated lighthouses away from their families. So is there anything interesting planned for the holidays at your lighthouses in Erie, Avery?
Yes, so we do decorate for a special event that will begin in December. That's called Presque Isle Lights, and that encompasses the entire state park that we're in. Presque Isle Partnership, one of our fellow organizations, is the host of that, but we obviously decorate up the lighthouse, and it is one of the most spectacular showpieces of the display. And then we also have quite a few volunteer get-togethers. We're having our first ever monthly get-together in the off-season where we're going to be creating blankets for Project Linus. So we'll be doing that throughout the winter and just enjoying each other's company.
Blankets for Project Linus? Is that what you said? Like Linus and Charlie Brown and Peanuts?
Yeah, that's exactly it. So they give blankets out to numerous organizations, kids in hospitals, kids that maybe don't have homes, people that might be critically ill, and they distribute blankets as a sense of comfort to them. And we have quite a few crafters in our volunteer group, so we figured why not get them together and have some coffee and some snacks and make some blankets.
What a great thing. I love it. Wow. I didn't know about that before. That's really good to hear. I used to have a poster of Linus holding a security blanket on my wall as a kid. So I'm very familiar with Linus and his blanket. So that what a good thing. You know, I'm a little sad we can't decorate Portsmouth Harbor Lighthouse, which is like 10 minutes from where I'm sitting here at home here in New Hampshire. We used to put up a holiday light display at the lighthouse every year. It looked really nice. We can't do it because of the storm damage in the last couple of years. But Nubble Light in York, Maine is just a half hour north, and they do a great light display. I'm sure a lot of our listeners have seen that. I try to get up there at least once during the season. I also want to mention that I will be doing a live virtual presentation about the history of the Flying Santa of the lighthouses. It'll be at 7 p.m. Eastern Time this Thursday, just a few days after this podcast episode is being posted, this Thursday, December 4th. Go to uslhs.org and look under What's New to register. And there's something else I want to remind people about. Maybe you can help me with that.
people have a couple of weeks to enter the 2025 U.S. Lighthouse Society Dance-Off. This year's dance contest winner will get a $500 cash prize, along with $500 to be donated to a lighthouse organization of their choosing. This year, you can choose from more than 25 different pieces of danceable music. Look under events at uslhs.org for the details. Dancing ability is not required. Creativity and spirit are the most important things.
The dance contest winner will be chosen by the audience during our live virtual New Year's Eve party, and details about that will be posted soon at uslhs.org. I hope you'll be able to take part in our live party, or at least maybe send along a greeting for that event. Avery?
Yeah, you might see a virtual greeting from me there.
I hope so. Also, one more thing about the holiday season. I know you sing in the Erie Philharmonic Chorus. There must be some events coming up this holiday season.
Oh, yes. I have 2 Holiday Pops performances with the Erie Philharmonic, singing a lot of the classic stuff. And then every single year, our smaller chamber group and our orchestra also perform Handel's Messiah. So the first 2 weeks or so of December, I'm living in the theater and drinking a lot of tea with honey. It's a lot of fun.
Uh-huh. More and more, I just feel like I might need to move to Erie. There's too many good things going on there that I'm missing out on.
I will always advocate for Erie and tell people they should live here. It's a great place.
It sure seems like it. Yeah. And so break a leg, a metaphorical leg with those events coming up.
Thank you.
So thank you again for co-hosting today. You're my go-to person certainly for the Lake Erie area. So because I just spent some time in Lake Erie, got a lot of interviews around there. Just a quick reminder to everyone to check out uslhs.org for info on preservation grants, tours, and everything the U.S. Lighthouse Society does. And if you listen through Apple Podcasts, please rate and review us. We'll be back next week with the Lighthearted Light episode, and then, as we mentioned earlier, the new episode featuring Fairport Harbor Lighthouse in Ohio in 2 weeks. Until then, to all our regular listeners and our new ones, thanks so much for listening, and
keep a good light.
I'm gonna let it shine, let it shine, let it shine, let it shine.